In the summer of 2019, a young man disappeared without a trace in the area of Cape Byron in Australia. Just minutes before his disappearance, his mobile phone was tracked along a strange path, ultimately losing signal. But where and how did Theo Hayez vanish? Let's investigate together. In 2018, Belgian Theo Hayez visited Melbourne, Australia to see his godfather and his family. On May 25, 2019, he arrived in Brisbane, where he visited his cousin Lisa and brother Michael. On May 29, he took a bus to Byron Bay and checked into the Wake Up hostel, taking a bunk in a 6-person dorm room. 2 days later, on the evening of May 31, 2019, Theo met his friend Antoine at a hostel barbecue. Antoine, also Belgian, lived in the same hostel but in a different room around 6:30 p.m. The two young men took an Uber to a wine store in the city center where they bought a 2-liter bottle of wine to share at the barbecue. Theo was wearing light pants, a sweatshirt, and a cap with a white logo. After spending some time at the hostel, Theo, Antoine, and 4 others went to the Monkey's Bar, arriving around 9:35 p.m. While enjoying drinks and beer, Theo went to the restroom, followed by a security guard who waited for him outside. When Theo emerged, the guard asked him to leave due to his apparent intoxication. Theo complied respectfully and was last seen on CCTV leaving the bar at 11:00. Theo's family accessed his Google account and discovered that he activated his phone's GPS from 11:00 p.m. to 12:05 a.m., recording his path and average speed accurately. Theo left the bar and briefly stopped on Kingsley Street to enter his hostel's address into Google Maps. He then walked for 4 minutes and 40 seconds before stopping near the Byron Youth Center, spending almost 7 minutes there. Moving on, he walked through suburban streets until reaching Massinger Street, where the suburbs ended and a clearing with a view of Arakwal National Park, the ocean, and a lighthouse began. Instead of continuing straight to Talwood Avenue, which leads to the beach, he turned onto a bush track. He walked quickly through challenging terrain in darkness. At one point, he stopped to check Google Maps again before heading in the opposite direction, deeper into the bush. Eventually, he reached the beach, left the bushes via a tiny path, and consulted Google Maps again. He then walked to the northern end of the beach, leaving around midnight and heading toward a steep hill with dense vegetation. After stopping for 5.5 minutes, he returned to the beach corner, where his phone's GPS tracking ended at 12:05 a.m. on June 1, 2019. 15 minutes later, he messaged a friend about a music group via Messenger, watched the beginning of a French comedy show on YouTube, and sent a WhatsApp message to his stepsister in Belgium. The last ping from his phone occurred at 1:42 a.m. and was received by an antenna on Patterson Street. The police stated that Theo's phone was in sleep mode from 20 a.m. to 60 a.m. to 60 indicated was on but not in use. The last ping did not indicate shutdown, which typically occurs when a phone is out of battery or manually. Possible explanations include loss of signal, battery removal, or phone damage. Search efforts involving police, volunteers, divers, helicopters, boats, drones, and police dogs were extensive but unsuccessful. Nearly 3 weeks later, Theo's family received ransom demands via Messenger, followed by several more over the next months, none of which proved authentic. After a month, the police announced the cessation of full-scale search operations, but the investigation continues. At a press conference held by the Byron Bay Police with Belgian investigators and the family, the police stated that the most likely scenario of the young man's disappearance was an accident that occurred on the cliffs of Cape Byron 4 days after the official search operations were called off. Volunteers continuing the search discovered a gray puma cap in bushland near Tallow Beach. The location where the cap was found precisely matched one of Theo's last known locations, according to GPS data from his phone. About 10 days after this discovery, Theo's parents left Australia and flew back home to Belgium. Now, let's consider the main theories of what could have happened to Theo Hayez that night. All his personal belongings, including passports and other documents, were left in his hostel room, where his bank accounts and cards had not been used since he left the wine store on the night of May 31. According to his friend, he didn't have any cash with him that night. His swipe key wasn't used, and the hostile CCTV system and other guests. The picturesque town of Byron Bay is a popular tourist destination for both Australians and foreigners, and it even has properties owned by Hollywood stars like Chris Hemsworth, Elsa Pataky, Matt Damon, and others. However, behind the glamorous facade lies a darker side of drugs, violence, and homelessness, which may have engulfed Theo Hayez. Despite being mostly hidden from public view and the important tourist market, the resort town is inhabited by drug-addled vagrants, creating a sinister underbelly. Many society's outcasts come here because of the warmth and live in tents outside legal campgrounds. Hence, one theory is that Theo became a victim of unsavory individuals who may have robbed, abducted, or harmed him that night. He might have encountered the wrong people in the area, with numerous tents where drug addicts and homeless people live. While this theory is unlikely and difficult to completely rule out, it cannot be entirely discounted. On September 5, 2019, 3 months after Theo's disappearance, a Byron Bay police detective informed the family that they had determined the most likely scenario of his fate. Theo fell into the ocean and was swept away by the current. The strange path Theo took after leaving the bar, explained by the police as him getting lost and disoriented, thinking he was heading back to the hostel due to his intoxicated state, does have some inconsistency. His phone always had the route back to the hostel open, yet he intentionally walked in a different direction. While on the beach, Theo exchanged messages with his sister and friend and even watched a few minutes of a French comedy show on YouTube. So it's difficult to say that he was truly lost, even considering his intoxicated state. Most likely, after leaving the bar and intending to return to the hostel, he wanted to take a walk. Perhaps upon opening the map and entering the route, he saw the beach on the map and decided to go there. The found cap suggests that Theo likely got caught in branches while walking through dense bushes, leading to it falling off. Considering that he walked through the bushes at night, after spending some time on the beach, he might have wanted to climb higher to the cliffs towards the lighthouse. Furthermore, a drunk young man could easily fall from the cliffs into the water. However, what really happened to Theo Hayez remains unclear, and besides the found cap, no other traces of the missing young man were discovered.